there is no critical thinking. There is no coming up with ideas beyond the realm of what's already known and possible.
Mm.
And I
Oh my
think that
God.
for sustainability, that's what we need, is we need thinking beyond the realm of what's already familiar and possible. Because what is familiar and possible is doom and gloom and doesn't work.
I was just going to say, not working.
Yeah, it's not working.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I'm talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope you are too.
Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan, and my guest today is Bobby Donohue, who from New York,
Yep.
formerly Florida, formerly New York. We just found out, but and Bobby has a really cool program that we want to talk about. So, Bobby, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I know, right? It feels like the middle of the night for us.
We're working on our lighting because it is 8 o'clock and it feels like 2 a.m. I don't know. But so Bobby, your program, well, is it program? Is it?
Yeah, I don't know what to call it either. I mean, program is a good word.
It's
It's a program. Yeah.
yeah, it's a program.
Sure.
So and it's called Planet Bonehead.
Yep.
And this is teaching kids specifically, right?
Yeah. So I
About
help schools teach kids about climate change and E-STEM careers. And E-STEM stands for environmental STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. I actually like STEAM better, but everyone calls it STEM. STEAM has the A in it for art, and the art is the imagination part to me, So
I love that. Oh my God.
yeah.
Has that been talked about before?
Oh,
Because
that's a thing. Yeah, I didn't
is
make
it?
that up. Yeah, that's a thing. But a lot of schools and teachers just call it STEM. I think STEM was established first, and then people introduced STEAM, which of course I was like, yes, please, that's great. But
Right.
but STEM is the more established, widely used version. But
A lot of schools are like art. Meh.
well, that to me, I think is part of the problem. I think art needs to be a much larger uh, part of any curriculum because art is where you have imagination, you have creativity, and without that, the other things are kind of stagnant. You live in the realm of what's possible, but art brings in the hey, what else could we do? Like what's not just what's possible, but what's possible. You know what I mean? It's like you think far beyond with imagination when you add the art part.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I don't know about when you were growing up, but like everything was like figured out for you. And
Yeah,
that if
exactly.
you don't fit in this mold, then you're wrong.
Yeah.
And so the art, the creativity is where, people shine because you're like, I don't want to do that, but this is what I can do. And I think that that's so important. I didn't know that that was a thing. That's so cool.
Mhm. Yeah. You're absolutely right because art is art is always the first thing that's dispensable when like there's a problem. Like, oh, we're out of money, just drop all the art classes. Even in business they do that. It's like as soon as like they're on austerity or they need to cut back on stuff, the first thing they cut back on is the marketing and design stuff. It's like, okay, that's the lifeblood of your business, but sure, let's just cut that out first. Not the lunches and the coffees and things like that. But yeah, so art, like when I was growing up, was that secondary thing, that class where you had it once every third Wednesday, where the weird lady with the cart came into your class and you did finger painting for 5 minutes, and that was it. That was art. And it's a shame because it's really it's a vessel to teach kids how to think and how to use their imaginations. And that's really what being a kid is all about. It's unbridled imagination.
Right.
School tends to stifle it. So I'm trying to help schools not stifle it. Let's make part of the curriculum. It's not just learning climate change where, hey, here's this thing, then we're all going to die. Hey, it's not that. We can't teach it that way because nobody, even the grown-ups don't want to hear that.
Right. People don't respond well to
Nobody responds well to
all
that.
gonna die.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's really it. You have one side that says it's a hoax and it's fake and let's not care about it, and you have the other side that is, serious about it, but really the only thing that gets talked about is the doom and gloom of it,
Mhm.
and literally though we're all going to die and we can't possibly do anything about it because it's too expensive or it's too hard and blah. If you talk to a kid about this, they're just like, what if we did this? And their imagination is just so wild that they might come up with things that are not possible today. But I always liken it to, I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan. But Star Trek, right? You've heard of it. Okay, so you don't need to be a Star Trek fan to understand this. But when Star Trek came out in the 60s, they had some things in there that the kids who were watching that show, who were into that show, were enamored by. For example, Captain Kirk had the communicator that flipped open. And years later in the 90s, that's where the flip phones came from. It was from the Trekkies who grew up to become engineers and were like, I want Kirk's communicator. And they designed flip phones for exactly that reason.
Oh my
That's
God.
why. And so it's like when you have kids that are designing things that are just out of their imagination, maybe it's not possible today, but they can grow up and figure out, hey, that is a great idea. Let's figure out how to make it work.
Right.
And now NASA is actually working, I don't know if NASA's working on, but engineers are working on warp drives. Like this is a thing people are trying to figure out. Like they've come up with the science of how the Enterprise went to warp in space. Because going faster than the speed of light is impossible. You can't do it. It's just nothing can go faster than light. But the Enterprise did, but not by actually moving faster than light. It expanded space and went with the expansion. And so it's like engineers came up with all these ways that they made it work because they grew up watching this show. You
Right.
take art out of school, you take creativity out of childhood, and you grow up not having any of that. You know, I don't know if we'll ever develop a warp drive for real, but they'll never stop working on it because it's just this thing that's stuck in their heads and they're just like, we have to make this work. And that's what it's all about. And it doesn't have to just be the warp drive. It could be like, maybe how do we make our planet more sustainable? How do we create cities that are more sustainable or buildings that are more sustainable? And they'll come up with imaginative ways, kids will,
Mhm.
that grown-ups never would come up with because we're too pragmatic, we're too practical. I think, hey, what if we did? Nah, I can't do that. It's too expensive. Or, oh, we can't do that. They tried that in the 80s and blah, 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 blah. Right? It's like we're telling ourselves all the reasons why it's impossible and can't be done before we even said it out loud. Kids don't have that. They just say, what if we did this thing? And it's like, that's a great idea. And they start drawing pictures of it and they start imagining how it could be. We need more of that. That's what Planet Bonehead is.
Oh my gosh. You're so right. You're so right. I had no idea about the communicator thing or the warp whatever. I mean, I know I've seen a Star Trek movie
I was a Trekkie growing up, so I've been a Star
Most
Trek
people
fan.
are, I think.
Yeah, my whole life. So, but that's the point, is that it's like without the imagination part and without the art part, there is no critical thinking. There is no coming up with ideas beyond the realm of what's already known and possible.
Mm,
And I
oh my
think that
God.
for sustainability, that's what we need, is we need thinking beyond the realm of what's already familiar and possible. Because what is familiar and possible is doom and gloom and doesn't work.
I was just gonna say not working
Yeah, it's not working.
for sure. Wow. That's so cool. I mean, I just thought it was because they're the next generation. It's not like that's so smart. I don't have kids, but I didn't think about it that way. But that you're so right.
Well, I think what you just said is also true. I tend to believe that each generation of kids is born into a state of being that they already like have an awareness that older generations don't, which is why we have a generation gap, which is why you always see it's like when I was a kid, we were so good at like programming the VCRs and my grandparents never could figure it out. And I was just like, what is the problem here? You know? And I feel like I grew up at a time that was perfect because I was a teenager in the 80s and we had it was such a fast-paced change of things from the 80s into the 90s that by the time I was in my 30s, I made a promise to myself that I was going to keep up as best I can with technology. And when my local supermarket got the self-check lanes, I was like, yep, I'm using that. I'm not going to be the old man who doesn't know how to do it. You know what I mean? And it's like, so it was kind of good for me because I was the guy that kept up with things. And because it was going so quickly in my young years. Whereas my grandfather is like when he was 10 and when he was 40, it was the same thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't until he was in his 50s and 60s that things started progressing so rapidly that by then he was like, oh, what is this thing? You know? So I do think that kids are born a little bit more attuned to the capabilities of their time, whereas old people don't tend to keep up as much
Hmm.
unless they try to. So
Yeah.
you add to that the art part. I don't know why I'm saying art part so much. I've never said that in my life, and now suddenly I can't stop saying it. You keep adding the art to that, and
And
it
encouraging.
helps
Yeah.
propagate it. It helps keep it going.
Yep. Like water it. Just let that grow.
Water it. I like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. And yeah, I never thought about art as having that sort of impact on education and stuff like that. That's really brilliant. I mean, I know a lot of people that work in STEM. I did not know about STEAM, but
Yeah.
I'm on board. Let's do it. Let's like push that.
All right, you and me. We're gonna fix this.
Taking that on. I have a platform. Let's do it.
Great. That's why I'm here.
But so tell us about Planet Bonehead.
Sure.
I mean, I know what the plan is, but like, so what are you? Okay, first, I told you I needed to ask, but so why Planet Bonehead?
Right. The name and,
Yes.
and the whole idea. Yeah. So Planet Bonehead started almost 20 years ago as a seed of an idea. There were a couple of people involved in the early days, and somebody had this idea for a character named Bonehead. And they were like, what if we did this character named Bonehead? He just did silly boneheaded things. It was just, we were just joking around, And and so I started to design a character. Like, what would a character named Bonehead look like? And I had this idea, like he had a bone for a head, and it was really hard to design a character named Bonehead for reasons that are probably evident when you start to think about it. Everything looked like something else. And, so it was like, finally I came up with a character that I liked. And then we came up with this cast of characters and stuff. And then we were like, this is kind of fun and interesting. Maybe we can tie it to something and make something out of this. And it turned out that my friend and I we both had young children at the time. And my son was a baby, he had just been born. He's going to be 19 next week, and and we both cared about the environment. So we were like, what if we made something about the environment? Because like, isn't it kind of boneheaded to trash the planet? It's like it's a bonehead thing to do. We were like, this is we're so smart, you know. And so at first, so I came up with this name, Planet Bonehead, and so it just grew from there. And at first, it was going to be this blog and this platform for people to just talk about climate change and the environment, and then we started thinking about making something for kids, and it was, he had little kids and I had little kids, and we were like, I wanted to make a cartoon out of these guys, and it just kind of progressed from there, and eventually he left, and I had wanted to, I was like coming up with a pitch for a show to bring it to like Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, and they were like, this is a cool idea, but we don't do educational shows. If it can only be educational for like pre-K, like little kids. Anything from kindergarten or older has to be just entertainment. That's all they do. So that to be like, they wanted another SpongeBob. I don't know why. That's just their business, and I wasn't going to argue with them. No, you should change the entire entertainment system for me. And
Come on, we had Schoolhouse Rocks when we were kids.
yeah, but that was like an interstitial thing, I maybe we could have had that. I don't know,
They said no.
They said no. So back to the drawing board. My partners left, and it was just me. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just making my own show, and I made this show, and we got it into schools, and it was streaming into classrooms. And there was still me and one other partner at this point, and we just made the show. And I was the guy that did the cartoons and the music and the voices and the scripting and the video editing and stuff. And it was fun, and it worked. Our distributors loved it, and teachers loved it. We got a lot of great feedback on it, and it just kind of grew from there. And then that partner left almost 10 years ago, and I was just left with it, and I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but I started to learn about green technology. I started to learn about these companies and these entrepreneurs and these engineers that are creating technology that is actually solving climate change. And one after another, I would talk to these startups, these CEOs, these just guys in a basement or big companies. They're everywhere. They're all over the place, and they're making such amazing things. And I learned something. I learned that green tech is saving the world, and nobody knows about it. It's a secret. And they literally have. So I've met companies. I've met the executives at companies that their one thing could solve everything. You know what I mean? And it's just absolutely amazing to me that we don't have the political will to just build these things at scale, because all of this stuff would be, you wouldn't need your podcast, and I wouldn't need Planet Bonehead, because there would be no problems. And the problem that they're having is that they're very good at creating these things, but they're not very good at telling their own story. They're not very good at getting the word out. They're literally a secret, And so I was like, I'm going to teach kids about it. I'm going to teach kids about it. So, and it's kind of like, do you remember years ago the big problem with the ozone layer? There's a giant hole in the ozone layer, and everybody's going to get cancer, or whatever the problem was, And do you notice that nobody talks about that anymore?
Absolutely.
And do you know why? Take a wild guess.
I mean,
Why?
I'm guessing it was just people stopped talking about it because it was there was like the next best thing or the next biggest thing, or
Well, yes, that's the second half of the answer.
tell
But
me why.
the first, sorry, I put you on the spot there. Sorry about that. The first half of the answer is that they solved it. Scientists and engineers figured out what the problem was, and it was solved.
Really?
And the ozone layer hole got smaller, and it's no longer a problem. But the reason that nobody talks about it anymore is because the solution to these problems isn't sexy. It doesn't get big headlines on the websites. It doesn't get the clicks on social media. The problems do, which is why there isn't the political will for all of this green technology, because the problems make money. The solutions don't.
That's
That's it. That's
stupid.
it. Now, if you tell this to kids, and they'll be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, you know? So part of what I'm trying to
Right.
do is instill this thinking in them so that when they grow up, they realize that's stupid still. I'm a grown up now and I still think that's dumb. You know? So I,
No. I mean, I totally didn't hear about that. Like it just like stopped being a thing.
it
And I
just
actually
stopped
mentioned
being a
it.
thing. Yeah.
I-
But your answer was correct. The reason they stopped talking about it was because they went on to the next best thing. But the reason they were able to go on to the next best thing is because scientists fixed it. But scientists don't go on the websites and the newspapers and all those things and say, "Hey, we
Gosh.
fixed it." And everybody, we don't have marches in the street for the things we fixed. You know, we have marches in the street for the things we don't fix and for the things that we hate. And that's kind of I is it a feature of our species? Is it a drawback? I'm not sure, you know. I don't like to think that everything is terrible. I like to think that everything happens for a reason, and that we seem to progress through history and we seem to do well, you know. I think that the hardships that we see happen within our lifetimes, but when you look at lifetimes upon lifetimes upon lifetimes, things get better. Things do generally get better. You know, it's just that we wish they got better within 4 years. Darn it. You know, and and when they don't, we get mad and upset and we think the world stinks, but it doesn't. It's good.
We're actually pretty smart.
You know why? Because we've got kids. Kids are good, and they're gonna learn things, and they're gonna grow up to be better than we are.
Please.
Yeah, I think.
Oh my gosh.
My kids are grown-ups now. My daughter's 21 and my son will be 19
Okay.
in a week.
But
And
they grew up with Planet Bonehead.
they did. They did. They were the inspiration. You know, they were the ones I'd be like, "Hey, what do you think of this character? What if Bonehead did this? What if this happened?" And they'd be like, "Ha ha, I like that. You're so smart and handsome, Daddy."
Do
You
they
know?
get credit?
Yeah, sure. Why not? And
Sure.
no, I get all the credit.
Oh my gosh. I've brought up a few times on the podcast. Like I had some when I was first starting the podcast, somebody asked me, why sustainability? And I was like, because I grew up in the 80s, just like you.
Yeah.
It was like loud engines, hairspray everywhere and just like excess everything. And
Yeah.
then, and then in the late 90s, early two or 2000s, I guess. When did we hear about the ozone thing? Was it the 90s? I think it was the 90s.
No, I think it was the 2000s. I don't remember. I don't, it's like I remember we used to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't, you know.
Right. And so
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is like my way of giving back. Like, because I grew up in that time where we killed the ozone, we made the hole in the ozone.
Mhm.
This is me sort of doing my part to give back. I
Yeah.
know we fixed it already.
Yeah.
Shoot, podcast over. What's next?
Well, there's more things to fix, and there would be more things to fix after that. You know, it's we like fixing things too, I suppose. So
Talking about it.
yeah.
Very cool. Oh my gosh, I love that. And so you were saying, Bobby, that this is in like 1,000 schools?
Yeah, so what I was able to get, we were able to get Planet Bonehead into these distributors. And at the time, do you remember when we were kids? Remember they'd hand out those pieces of paper and you could check off the books you wanted? And it's
Mhm.
scholastic books. Well, they used to have these catalogs like that, except they were for teachers. And instead of books, it was DVDs. So we got our show into these catalogs, and teachers and schools could order the DVDs from these catalogs. And we were selling DVDs that way. And that's how it started. Then the companies that were doing the DVD distribution switched to digital streaming, like Netflix for schools. And so they kept our program and started streaming it into classrooms. And at first it was across North America. And now, the past couple of years, I got it into a couple more distributors that now it's in 86 countries around the country.
86 countries.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So,
What?
so that, and now I've built planetbonehead.com, which is its own platform for the program. And so the stuff that's in the distributors is the videos for the climate units. But the platform that I'm building has a lot more. It has those videos, but each of those units has lesson plans that align with next gen science standards or national core art standards, the social justice standards, and there's outdoor activities and all kinds of empowerment stuff to get kids active on the solution and get them designing their own solutions. That's on the platform. And another big part of what I'm doing is bringing education for the teachers, because teachers aren't climate scientists. They have to teach this stuff and they don't know it.
Right, right. If the
I
kids
don't
are
know.
like, well, how does this work? And they're like,
Yeah, and they're like, oh, right? So I don't know if you noticed, but we have a political system in this country with a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and we're constantly bombarded by it. And so are the teachers. So it becomes hard to know what's the truth, what's myth, what's fact. I don't know. I'm not reading the science journals. I'm speaking as them, the teachers.
right.
And then not only to know the facts themselves, but all right, now I know the facts. How do I talk to an 8-year-old about this? How do I talk to a 15-year-old about this? Well, maybe not a 15, maybe like a 12 or 13-year-old about this, because it goes to like 8th grade. Yeah, 13, right? So how do I talk to children about this, without scaring the pants off of them?
Right.
This is scary stuff, the doom and gloom, the everybody hates each other, we're all going to die stuff, It's
Right.
like, so I've said, let's talk about it with optimism and empowerment. Let's not just present the problems to them and say, well, that sucks, kids, go have fun, it's recess,
Go have fun now. We're all going down in flames.
Right. So half the program is the problem. But the second half are solutions, those green tech companies I told you about. So I'll talk about something like the problems with recycling or the problems with agricultural pollination. But then I'll talk about the green tech solutions that we have that are solving those problems. And not only do we have these solutions, but what other solutions could we have? And then the part of the assignment is to go design your own. Go build your own prototype, make it out of craft material. They don't have to make there's a unit about ocean plastic, and they learn about the plastic that you dump, that like you throw it in the can, but it misses and it lands on the ground and now it's blowing around in the wind. That will one day find its way to the ocean. Guaranteed. It will. All plastic finds its way to the ocean, no matter where. You could drop it in Nebraska, it will end up in the ocean. It's a fact, right?
It's so true.
And it collects in the ocean, and then it doesn't do anything. It sits there, except it breaks down. But it doesn't break down into organic material that's good. It breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces of plastic called microplastic. And the fish eat it, and the sea turtles eat it, and all the animals eat it, and then we eat them. And now we've got plastic inside of us because we ate fish with plastic in it. Yay, right? Okay, so this is the problem. This is the problem. What's the solution? There are green tech solutions that are scooping out the plastic from the ocean. There are green tech solutions that are blocking the rivers so that the water and the wildlife can get by, but the plastic can't. There are green tech solutions that are stopping it before it gets into the rivers. So it's like there are all these solutions, and then the assignment is design your own. Come up with some crazy way that we could stop plastic from getting into the water, or how we could get it out of the water once it's in the water, and then they could build something, or they could draw pictures of it, or they could write a song about it. It's like anything at all, because it's about getting the ideas.
Encourage that.
You're going to have the kids who are great at science and math, and they could come up with stuff that's very scientific and very engineering oriented. And then you have the kids who would rather just like fall asleep in class than have to deal with that. So give them something that uses their talents, because the one thing I learned from all of these green tech companies is that they are starving for talent, but not just the kids who are great at science and math. They need all the talent. They need the artists. They need the communicators. They need the lawyers. They need the numbers kids. They need everybody, right? Because, like I said, they're really good at building what they do. They're really bad at telling people about it. They're
Mhm.
really bad at explaining it to their customers.
Right.
They're not very comfortable explaining it to investors, which is why they have a hard time getting money. Because
Right.
the investors say, I think this is a good idea, but I can't tell, so I'm going to go invest
Right.
in that really cool tech bro thing that they came up with, that new app.
Right.
It's like those guys are getting all the money because those are the kids who know how to talk.
Right. Well, and I would assume that people like that, super smart people that are coming up with these great ideas, don't know how to tell me,
They don't know how to tell you. Yeah.
like investors and whatever, but also just like, how do we appreciate that? How do we encourage that? How do we vote for that?
Yeah. And that's, again, that because the problems are sexy. It's very easy to look at the problems and rail against them. Oh, it's their fault and it's this is happening and I'm going to fix this and I'm going to make sure that those people pay.
Right.
That gets votes. That gets people riled up.
Yep.
But it doesn't get people riled up. I have a 15-point plan of how we're going to solve this problem within the next 3 years with an expenditure of blah blah blah. And I'm asleep and I'm ready to go and you're boring and I don't want to have a beer with you, so you're not going to be president. And that's the world we live in. But we need to figure out how to not be either one of those
Right.
because neither one of them is doing a good job. We need somebody who has the sexiness of that one, but the smarts of this one, and can say, hey, here's this really cool thing. What if we all did this and had a good time? That's what kids do.
Right. Right. Yeah, we need
We
more
should
of
have a
that.
kid president.
Dang it.
We should really have a
No, for real.
I'm not kidding around. I'm willing to
Remember
try
the
anything.
character kid president? There is a
Oh,
kid that was his.
that was a thing, right? That was a show. I don't remember I never saw it. But you're right, that was a thing. Yeah.
I don't know, character. He was he's a kid and he just called himself kid president.
Yeah.
Um, and we should have done it
We should.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's just this next generation is going to be better than ours, and they're going to be more understanding and use this STEAM. Um, what it? I need words. The STEAM like mindset. Is it like
Mindset's a great word. Let's use mindset, right? We're trying to instill a mindset. It's STEAM is just a paradigm, a protocol, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. But the mindset here is the imagination mindset, the critical thinking mindset, the can-do attitude,
work
the
together?
the work together mindset,
We all have skills and talents, and we need to.
it's all hands on deck,
Yep.
but you know what? It's always all hands on deck. We as a species have never survived because one of us was really strong and the others just made it under their shadow. That's never worked. What's always worked is all of us coming together and forging communities. Communities are what kept us alive against the saber-toothed tiger and against the storms and against the cold of the night and figuring out how to make warmth from fire in the cave and all of that stuff. And we're the only species that's ever done that. But we forget. And we think it's better to be, isolated and alone but it's not. And I think that we're going to learn that. I think it goes in cycles,
I
It's,
hope so.
I do. I am such an optimist, and if I weren't, I couldn't do Planet Bonehead. I couldn't teach optimism and empowerment for climate change. It's like,
Right.
that's just that doesn't go together. But unless I lived it, unless I believed it, And I do believe it because I've raised kids and I've seen how great they are and how great their friends are and how great the community is when they want to be. You
Mhm.
know, I think that we're a species that's supposed to live in groups of hundreds, not groups of tens of millions. And that's strange for us. We didn't evolve quickly enough for that, you know, and Facebook's not helping. So
True story.
yeah. Wow, this is conversational. I like this. This is nice.
Yeah. So what has been going on in my head, Bobby, is so you're in 1,000-ish, at least 1,000 schools, just streaming. I know I have lots of friends who are in the education fields. Like, if they're interested in this, how can somebody, like, can they just say we want to get this, or how does that work? Do you know?
Yeah, so now the platform at planetbonehead.com is up and running and ready to go. I'm going to be adding the first of the teacher courses to teach teachers how to do this within the next week or two. Those will be up there. The first units are already up there, the classroom units. So
Right.
there's actually three parts to this. Is it all right if I explain it real quick?
Please.
So the three pillars that I've identified that teachers need the most are knowledge, resources, and support. They
Mhm.
don't have the knowledge. They don't really understand climate change, as we spoke about before. The second is resources. They don't have the videos, the lesson plans, the activities, the things, the tools to use in the classroom to actually teach the kids.
Right.
And the third is support. A lot of times teachers can feel isolated with a topic like this. Some communities don't support it, some
Exactly.
administrations don't support it, some whatever, you know, so they can feel very isolated. So it would be nice for them to know that there are other people out there, and also to get expert support, to that it's not just up to the teachers to teach this. The teachers have a lot of people they can lean on to bring their expertise in.
Right.
So the tools that I'm making are for knowledge. I've created the Teacher Learning Center.
Right.
It's going to have courses for teachers. It's just video courses that the teachers would watch. They don't watch it with the kids. It's going to be a little bit more doom and gloom and a little bit more matter of fact, but it's just the bare facts for them. And then also
That's what we like. We like the doom and gloom. It's the
yeah,
kids that don't want
it's
that.
the kids that don't want that. But they're also the solutions so that they understand it, but on a more technical level, and
Right.
also the how to take this and now talk to kids about it. So that's the Teacher Learning Center. The second part is resources. That's the PBH climate units. That's the activities and the lesson plans and the videos for kids. That's the cartoons with the bonehead characters. That's all of that. That stuff's already there. And then the third is support, and I'm creating something called the Planet Symposium, which is going to be live events, live virtual events with panels of experts. So I'm going to have climate scientists, I'm going to have green tech CEOs, I'm going to have climate experts, people that can talk to teachers about talking to kids, and then we'll do live events that the teachers can watch live, ask questions, and participate in, and then I'll have the videos up there for them. So I'm targeting this for schools and school districts. Individual teachers can join too if they want, but I'm not looking to pick the pockets of individual teachers. I'm trying to price it so that schools can afford it to
Right.
get their teachers on board, you
Yeah.
know. So it's a few $100s a year for a school. It could be several hundred to couple $1,000 for a district, depending on the size of it. But I want, I want, if they need to talk to me to customize something, I want to get this in every classroom. So whatever we got to do to get it in your school, just schedule a Zoom call with me and let's get it in there for you, is what I'm saying to them. So that's at planetbonehead.com. It's right now, they could sign up today.
Okay. And so that would be for schools, not necessarily teachers.
Teachers can,
Okay.
they can
But
if they
wouldn't
want to.
the school board have to like vote on it or something like that? Is that
Well, I don't know the politics of every school board in
or
America, and this isn't just for the U.S. Like teachers across the schools across the world can join, because it's on the internet, so everybody can do it. So I'm it's there is what I'm saying.
Right.
Even in Maine, they can do it. So,
Or in Virginia.
or in Virginia.
That's so amazing. I can't believe you've done all of this. And this has been like 20 years?
Well, the platform that I have now has been over the
Mhm.
past year and a half. Yeah, year and a half that I put this together with the
Just you.
climate units. Just me. Yeah.
Even though you said we. You said
I
we a
said
little
we
bit ago.
because in the beginning there were other people.
Right.
The last other person left in 2014.
Okay.
And since then, it's been just me. But it sounds bigger when I say we. So,
Well, it sounds like there's less on you when you say we, but
yeah, I guess.
but
I'm kind of a weird Renaissance right brain, left brain person. Like I just come up with ideas. I'm the guy who comes up with ideas and then figures out how to execute it myself. You
right.
know, ChatGPT helps, I won't lie. But it's a good tool for that. But yeah, I'm busy.
Amazing.
I do a
It really is.
I do a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so so you said like 20 years ago you and your friends came up with this character Bonehead.
Yeah.
Um, and but like so what was the point where you went from having this character that did silly, all these like shenanigans and whatever to like creating educational content for kids? Like was there like a point where you like a
It was fast. It was really fast.
was it like the birth of your kid?
No, my son, both my kids were already born when we talked about Bonehead on day one. But it was like within 1 year, we went from just
Messing around.
this messing around, fooling around to let's make a platform that could do something. And I think it was even within that year that it became for kids, you know? No, I'm wrong. Because in 2007, it was within 2 years or so that it became focused for kids because I think my friend had the opportunity to talk about it at his kid's school. And he went in and he talked about it and he showed them the characters and the kids loved the characters. And I was like, you know what? We should make something for kids.
Right.
Like let's make this for kids. Forget about this thing where people can blog and then nobody needs that. Let's make this thing for kids. And at first it wasn't a show. It was just we didn't know what it was. I'm not even sure what and then he left and it was me and some other people and we were trying to just make a TV show, you know,
Right.
that we were trying to pitch for the networks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they all said no, and around 2010, almost 4 years later, after Bonehead was born, that I was just like, let's make our own show. And I started making the show, and my final partner got connected with those Netflix for Schools companies and got it into the and said, hey, they'll put it in their catalog. And I was like, all right. And they did, and we started making money with it, and it turned out that teachers liked it. And that's when it got serious. That's when we started to say, what can we turn this into? And we did that together for about 4 years. And then she left. And it kind of sat for a while after that. I didn't know what to do with it after that, you know? And it wasn't until about 2018 that I started talking to green tech people and learning about what they're doing. And I'm very technical and I love engineering stuff as much as art stuff. I went to school for engineering before I went to art school, but I didn't want to be an engineer. It's like I didn't love doing that stuff all day, but I could talk about it all day.
Sure.
I was that kid, you know, and I was like, you know, I want to make Planet Bonehead about this. You guys are doing such amazing stuff and nobody knows about it. I want to teach kids about it. And so I started revamping the entire show. And I was going to launch something, had it all ready to go in March 2020.
Of course you did. I was like, everyone had everything planned in
I
March,
was going to dominate the world.
right?
And instead I was doing this.
Ugh,
I'm sitting here doing nothing.
right?
Schools were
Literally,
closed.
right?
Forget it.
Oh
You
my
know?
gosh.
And it was fine because I kept learning.
Yeah.
And finally in 2022, I started to come back to it and started to make the program what it is now. And what I was making in 2020 wasn't as good as what it is now. You know, it was okay, but it wasn't like this. This, I feel like, oh man, this was
Well, I
worth,
mean, now you've had 4 years
yeah,
to
this was worth the
do
4 years
it.
to figure it out, you
Yeah,
know? So I'm okay with that. And I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and I'm happy with that.
this is amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so
So
impressed.
no pandemic, okay?
For real. Oh my gosh. Um, oh man, Bobby, this is so cool. I feel I feel your energy. And I know you're saying you're talking to these green tech people and they're terrible at selling themselves and whatever. Like I feel that about so many things also. And you're just like, I am going to help you get the word out,
Yeah,
right? I need to scream this from the rooftops
yeah.
because everyone needs to know about this. And so I'm so glad you're doing this. And 1,000 schools are learning. This is amazing because it's not something that kids learn about in school. And it's they're not learning it at home either. A lot of places are not learning that at home because, like you're saying, the teachers don't really know, so the parents don't really know. So
Well,
someone's
that's the other thing about teaching it to kids is you know what they do next? They go home and they tell their parents and they teach them how to recycle right. Oh, you can't do it that way. I learned that on Planet Bonehead. You got to do it this way, you know? And that's one of the things is you miss the can and the plastic blows away and it's going to make its way to the ocean and the kid will go back and pick it up
they're going to save the world,
because they know that now, you know?
right?
They're smart and they care and they understand practicality in that sense. Like it's not hard to go back and pick up that piece of plastic because they understand the importance of it. Whereas grown-ups, we have too many things to worry about. We're thinking about bills and what's for dinner, and I gotta
Looking
drive
at
so
our
and so to the
phones and
thing, and
not, yeah,
I gotta take the dog to the vet or whatever. You know, we got things. We got too many things.
yeah,
And kids don't have these things. They can handle this stuff.
right.
So we need to lean on them to solve this a little bit more. We've got it backwards.
Well, I mean, they have the creative brains that we've been pushing down for so many years because we have to like earn more money and we have to do all these things, like you're saying. We're just like crushing that down, and the kids don't have that. They don't have that.
Yeah,
So
they don't have that.
they are free to explore all opportunities and avenues, and this is amazing. I am so glad that we connected.
Me too.
Um, but so Bobby, planetbonehead.com, you said, is how people can find the program.
Yes.
Is that where you are everywhere?
So
Everywhere.
like the play, like how to connect with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the best places to connect with me is for business purposes or anything like that would be LinkedIn. I'm also on Blue Sky. It's I'm planetbonehead.com on Blue Sky. So it's I got the domain name username. So that was
Awesome.
yeah. So I'm trying to be more active there, but like individual teachers might want to follow me there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I say the word sustainability to you,
Hmm.
what does that mean?
That's a really good question. It's actually not something I think about very often because, I think the the obvious answer is like, oh, I recycle or something like that, and I do, but I think sustainability to me is sustaining our world and sustaining our I'm searching for a big word. It feels like way of life, but that's almost too like cliche sounding. It's sustaining it. It's sustaining our humanity, I think, and I think that children are the key to the sustainability of our humanity because they're born with it in droves. We haven't beaten it out of them yet, you know? But so many people our age we've had too much life to remember what that feels like. We get it in flashes and
Mhm.
it feels great and we love it and we want more of it. But then we go to bed and we wake up and we go, oh, I got that thing, right? And life becomes too much of that. That's unsustainable. What is sustainability to me is more of that humanity, that drive of what, and when I say humanity, I mean the thing that makes us human, that which is imagination, which is creativity, which is growth, which is that spark of happiness and excitement. You know, sustainability, sure, it means recycling and all the environmental buzzwords, but none of that matters if we don't have that human drive to move forward, that desire to build that thing we saw on Star Trek when we were kids. That is what sustainability means to me. How's that?
That is awesome. I mean, you're right. It's true. And that's, that's why I asked you. I ask everyone, but it's, I want to hear what you think. So this is, and it's, you're so right. I mean, I think that,
You mean I was right?
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're totally right. But I love, I mean, I love your energy. I love that you, I mean, you're just very straightforward. Like we as adults push down the creativity and we like it's not like we're hiding it, but we're weighed down with so many other things. And so we're just like, it's, later, someday, when retirement or whatever. But
Yeah,
the kids don't have that weight. They don't have, until we're like, here, take this weight. Um, they are free to solve problems.
yeah.
And like we were saying, like we need them to help us solve problems because we are not doing a very good job. But so I'm so
I'll take that half a step further. Is
oh
I think I don't know that we need kids to solve the problems. I think we need to teach the kids not to pick up the problems that we created.
oh heck yeah.
They don't they're problems that we just invented.
Right.
The kids don't have to grow up believing in them.
Right.
You know, we don't need them to solve our problems. We need for us to either stop believing in them or just croak and move on and let the next generation come in. And they're not born with these problems. We teach them to them. You
Mm,
know, no kid is born racist. No
right.
kid is born believing that the world stinks and it's ugly and and that I'm better than that one or that and any of these problems that exist in the world, we made them up.
Right.
You know, we don't need them to solve them. We need them to not learn them. And so I'm trying to teach them the antithesis of the problems, which the only word I have for it is solution, but that kind of makes you think that it's the solving of the problem. I
Right.
think, man, you're making me think here.
Sorry about that.
It's too late. I'm ready for bed. The,
I get it though. I get it because I know like a thing that I've been dealing with is like obviously money issues, but um like inflation. Like right now inflation is so crazy. Like who decides? Who decides that it's time to raise prices on everything and make food unattainable for people and
yeah.
stuff like that? Like why can't we just say no?
I've never understood why we can't just all agree. Let's go back to like Ma and Pa Ingalls. I'll never forget watching that show, and they wanted to get a new stove at the the Olsen store, and it was 7 cents. And I was like,
Oh,
what is 7 cents? Right? And I was like, why can't we all just agree that,
we're not paying
everything
that.
that costs $100 is now $1? That's it.
I call.
Just scale it back 2 zeros, 3 zeros, whatever you want to do.
Right?
Why can't we just do that?
Majority rules, right?
Why not? Who would lose
Dude,
from
let's
that?
do it.
Who would lose from that? I don't know.
Right?
See, because I have too much of a child mentality. The adults in the room was, oh, we can't do that because then this the global
Yes.
up and this will collapse, and it's like, go away. You're making that up. It's a made up thing. Money's a made up thing. It's all a made up thing. All our problems are made up. You know? Do you love your dog? Do you love the people in your life? Right? That's what's real. That's what's real. That's it. That's what's real. Teach them that. We'll be fine.
Mm. I think that's a great place to end.
Yeah, me too.
That's, gosh, dang it. Thank you so much.
I can't get any smarter and sappier at the same time than that line.
Oh my gosh, Bobby, thank you so much for this. I'm like, I can't wait to share this, and I can't wait for people to like look this up and get this in their schools.
Oh,
Let's get more than 86 countries on board.
awesome. Thank you. I appreciate this.
I just want to take a second to thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I love having these conversations with folks. I also want to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her music genius, for Becca Coffron and her award-winning artwork. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that so much. Please check out the show notes for any links and extra information. And if you would like to follow my guest and find out more about them, I'm sure they would love the follow. And if you don't mind leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening, and just help to get this podcast in front of new eyes, that would be amazing. I would really love that. And feel free to reach out to me on the socials and let me know what you're thinking. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know that. I would love to have a conversation with you about sustainability. All right. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound, yeah, to find me. that state of grace has finally found me. Well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder